Welcome to Tell Vanessa. I'm your host, Vanessa Cruickshank. So what have we got in store for you? Well, each and every week we discuss an interesting topical debate, highlight a community issue or business, and then you tell me your dilemmas. Then we finish with some good musical talent. So for the next 30 minutes, sit back, relax, and enjoy. Tell Vanessa. The number of people, especially young people, being admitted to hospital with eating disorders has almost doubled over the last 3 years, according to figures released by the NHS. But many of us believe that the NHS should be there for us in our time of need. But a recent study conducted by the BBC found that women who should have been considered as anorexic were being turned away because they were not thin enough. It's estimated that 1.6 million people in the UK are affected by some kind of eating disorder. So on tonight's show, we discuss what is the reason for the rise in eating disorders and when is the acceptable time to be considered for help. Tell Vanessa, just tell Vanessa now. Deanne Jade, you're a psychologist and you work with a lot of people who are suffering from eating disorders.
I do.
Yeah. Why do you think the NHS has been turning people away because they're not considered thin enough?
One of the reasons why the NHS is turning people away is that number one, doctors are not trained to fully understand eating disorders and how they present. And a lot of people who go to see a doctor will deny that they have a problem, so the doctor will usually adopt a wait-and-see policy. And I think the other reason is that there aren't enough places for specialist treatment for eating disorders anyway. And I know that eating disorder services are inundated with cases and they have to prioritize the people who are most severely ill. And that means that necessarily some people are going to fall through the cracks.
So how do people though assess whether someone's got an eating disorder? Is it via their BMI?
No, because there are some people who are naturally very thin and who don't eat very well. So the kind of thing you'd have to be worried about would be someone who loses a lot of weight, who starts avoiding certain kinds of foods, who becomes withdrawn and depressed and stops doing the kind of things that they would have done before. And that's basically people who are anorexic, but there are more people who have eating disorders than those who are anorexic. There are at least double the number who have an eating disorder called bulimia.
Okay, I've heard of bulimia, yeah.
Yes, where there's dieting and then there's followed by overeating and then people begin purging, and that is equally dangerous.
Is binge eating as well then considered an eating disorder?
Binge eating is very much an eating disorder and people regard it as the Cinderella of eating disorders because you quoted a figure of 1.6 million who have eating disorders. And we think that there are several million people who suffer from binge eating problems and who struggle incessantly with their weight. And binge eating is not a weakness, it's eating rules their life, they're depressed, they're miserable, they may go from one diet to another, and it's very rare.
That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people that do that, though, in general. I'm thinking about even some of my friends who may binge on chocolate biscuits, on crisps, and I'm not even trying to trivialise it because actually it's quite serious in terms of how they binge.
I would agree. I think it would be very dangerous to trivialise it because yes, we're very concerned about anorexics, and I think it's something we need to talk about because these are people who desperately need help. But binge eaters can need help as well. They may be equally miserable. They feel that if they go to a doctor, they'll be just put on a diet or regarded as greedy or get a hold of yourself or even, in my experience, given an antidepressant, which is something they don't need.
Is it a mental health issue?
Well, all eating disorders are called mental health issues, and the problem is that, yes, it's a mental health issue, but not everyone who has this mental health issue is necessarily sick. People binge eat because partly for many reasons, and sometimes they're just eating in a chaotic way,
Yeah.
and that'll make their moods go all over the place. But it can just be a very unhelpful way, having an eating disorder, starving, purging or binging, to deal with emotions that you can't deal with in more helpful ways. But there's an added dimension to that, and that's an eating disorder mindset.
So what are the signs and symptoms that we'd be looking out for? For example, if it was me, what would I be looking for in terms of like a friend or somebody I know? Because it's going to be different because you're an expert.
Well, because there's so much secrecy around eating disorders, and in the case of anorexia, even denial that there is a problem, it's not easy. And you'd look for quirky eating, someone becoming a very quirky eater. They might decide that they're going to go vegetarian, or they're just going to do clean eating. They will lose a lot of weight. They'll appear to be depressed. They'll withdraw from the kind of things that they do with you normally. They might start doing a lot of exercise. So that could be one sign. With bulimia and binge eating, it's harder because these are disorders conducted in secret, and people look absolutely normal. They may be going on diets, their weight may be yo-yoing, but maybe not. And again, it's just depression and very, very hard to pick up. So most of the overeating disorders like bulimia and binge eating go unnoticed because there's nothing that shows on the outside. And
apart from when you lose an excessive amount of weight.
Yes, yes. In the case of binge eating, if someone is gaining weight and going on a lot of diets, then someone who really cares about them might say, look, do you have an eating disorder? And then it might be weeks before they're prepared to say, yes, I do.
So let me just get this straight then. So an eating disorder, you don't necessarily have to be completely slim. You can also be larger and have an eating disorder.
Well, to make it complicated, even more complicated, if you have someone who's lost a tremendous amount of weight very quickly, say by going on a liquid diet or taking slimming pills, they can have exactly the same symptoms as someone with anorexia as someone who's a lot thinner. So we have this strange category called eating disorders not elsewhere classified. I mean, I would never say you've got an eating disorder not elsewhere classified.
That sounds complicated.
It sounds extremely complicated, but we call these non-typical forms of eating disorders, and they don't actually tick all the boxes of anorexia or even bulimia. And yet we think that about 8 out of 10 eating disorder sufferers don't tick all the boxes for a classical eating disorder.
So what would you say to people who are at home that may have an eating disorder but don't know where to go for help?
In the first case, I would take a week or two and inform yourself about what kind of eating disorder you might have. Just because you're not ultra thin or you're not throwing up every day doesn't mean you don't have serious problems with food that is ruining the quality of your life. So inform yourself, go online, look up eating disorders, and if you're armed with the right information, take someone with you, go to your GP and say, I've researched this and I have an eating disorder and I would like some help. The problem is that you may then get onto a very long waiting list because most eating disorder services are so under pressure that you might have to wait for 6 months or a year before you get help.
That's too long. If somebody's got an issue right now, they need help. How can you wait for 6 months?
Well, the only other alternative I can see is to maybe contact an organisation like ours or someone else who's got good credentials for working with eating disorders and go and see them and get an assessment. And then they may be able to direct you to some affordable help that would sort out your problem quickly. Now, this is not going to work for the case of anorexia, which is a much more dangerous problem. But if you have someone by your side, a good advocate, who can actually write to your GP on your behalf, they might be able to speed up you getting help. And I've actually done that in many cases. Because people have come to see me, I've assessed them, I've actually said, this is a serious eating disorder. It doesn't matter what they weigh. Their weight is less important than what they're actually doing to themselves. And so I've been able to push a little bit harder to get the help they need.
Thank you so much for coming to talk to me this evening.
You're welcome.
It's been really interesting. Now we're going to hear a story from someone who's struggling with an eating disorder.
Remember family holidays when you were 11? Not a care in the world, right? Wrong. For me, it was when I first realised that I was fat. Of course I wasn't, but I thought I was. 6 months later, I was in hospital, with only 48 hours left to live if I didn't improve. And at 5'7" and only 4.5 stone, that's not really that surprising. I suffered from anxiety, particularly about dying, but I also couldn't bring myself to eat. I would cry myself to sleep at night through fear of death and make the decision to start my recovery the next day. But when morning came, I couldn't do it. Before long, I was sectioned. I met many people in hospital who told me all about their lifetime of health problems as a consequence of their anorexia. They had been fighting against eating disorders their entire lives. I didn't want to be like this. I knew I wanted to live. Eating disorders are serious mental health disorders that take the lives of many people every year, yet they are still so misunderstood by the majority of people. Anorexia destroyed mine and my family's lives for many years. I didn't think I would ever get better. But now, I've been in recovery for 6 years. I have 2 beautiful children and I'm training to be a midwife. Never give up. Recovery is possible.
Dieting, body dissatisfaction and wanting to be thin are all factors that increase the risk of an eating disorder. TV, magazines all encourage rapid weight loss, calorie counting, or even feeling guilty after a meal. If we don't tackle our obsession with having the perfect bodies, the perfect shape, and even the perfect look, we could end up spiraling down the road of no return, with the age getting younger and younger of people with eating disorders.
Tell Vanessa, just tell Vanessa now.
It's Deliberate sponsors Tell Vanessa. It's Deliberate sponsors Tell Vanessa.
Tell Vanessa, just tell Vanessa now.
I'm lucky to have on the couch with me this evening Sasha Bennett, who's the co-founder of In-spire Lifestyle magazine, and her Chief Operating Officer, Deanne Perretta. Good evening to you both.
Hi, Vanessa.
Good evening, Vanessa. Great to be here.
That's okay. So the magazine is all about lifestyle. You do inspirational stories, fashion. Tell me, how did you come up with the concept for that?
Basically, I've always been writing, Vanessa, for many years, and I was writing for my local magazine called Stuff Young People's Magazine. And literally, I was an entertainment editor. That was very one-sided, and I wanted to get into more things. I started writing for other blogs and magazines, but they kept editing my content too heavily, and I wanted to take control of it. So I started In-spire Lifestyles in my living room, enlisted all my friends and family to help me. And then fast forward to 2017, here I am. Dean got on board in 2013 and it's helped me to really grow the team and to just put out amazing lifestyle-based content.
So how did you guys get to collaborate together though?
Twitter's a powerful tool. It's really amazing. I met Dean on Twitter. So Dean?
Yeah, as Sasha alluded to, we initially met on Twitter, and it was very, very uncanny, and it was very, very surreal how we actually met. It was very random. And shortly thereafter, our engagement on Twitter, I received an email, and it was from Sasha. And it was in relation to working with her on the project on In-spire LS magazine. And at that particular juncture in my life, I had a lot of things going creatively, and I was feeling a little bit burned out, and I just feel as though I would not give 110% to the project at that particular moment in time. So to make a long story short, I came back almost a year thereafter, and I knew the timing was right, and it was February of 2013. Yeah. I came on board, and I've not looked back since.
I also know you do In-spire TV. So tell me, how did you get into that? Because you're a brilliant presenter.
Thank you, thank you. You know what, we had to make sure that In-spire is always online stuff, it's just content that's written, so we had to make it more visual because people like visuals. So we came together last year and we really put the brand out there. I asked Dean to join me in presenting, and we just cover things like restaurant reviews and interviewing top talent, upcoming talent, music acoustic shows, and it's just putting a visual picture to the words that we put on our actual magazine.
And you're up for an award?
I am. It's very exciting. It's the Entrepreneur of Diversity Award. It's just something that's really going to help the brand as far as I'm concerned. It's a team effort, it's not just me. And it's really amazing to know that someone actually nominated me for that, because it shows that my work is getting further and further afield. So it's very exciting.
Oh, congratulations for
Thank you.
that. So what next for the magazine? Because you do inspirational stories, you're on TV. Where else are you going to go?
There's so much space for In-spire. At the minute, we're looking at doing seminars called the Power Series. It's confidence-based workshops and self-esteem, and just helping women and men to empower their lives and to take the steps to improve the way they live. And our ethos is live well, so all our seminars are always going to be based at that. And we're also collaborated with a radio station called Phoenix FM. Dean helped to put that together. They're based in Essex, or in Brentwood, so to speak. And it's just about doing more things based in that area and seeing how we grow from there.
Most definitely. As Sasha alluded to the partnership with Phoenix FM, we most recently partnered with them just a month ago, and thus far it's been nothing but positive things.
Amazing.
And in regards to the work placements for the students, we collaborated with the South Essex College, and we're going to be offering placements for the students in a variety of fields, from fashion to presenting to journalism. There's just so much.
So you've got so much going on.
Most definitely. We have our hands in so many pots at this particular moment in time.
Well, I wish you both the best with it, and
Thank you.
congratulations
Thank you.
again.
Likewise.
And thank you for coming.
Thanks a lot.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you, Vanessa.
This is the part of the show where you tell me your dilemmas, I tell you what I think, and then we take it to the streets. Our first dilemma this evening is from a lady called Karen. I've just turned 50 and I've been seeing a married man now for the last 16 years. When we met, I was in my early 30s and he was everything I'd ever wanted. He was charming, he was attentive, and he was good looking. When I met him, he said he was going to leave his wife, as they don't get on. He said he's only there for the children and assured me that as soon as the kids grow up, he would leave. We kept on putting off having children as he kept on saying, it's not the right time, let's wait. Now I'm too old to have kids, but I thought this man was worth it. My issue is he's dumped me and he's left me for another woman in her 30s and she's pregnant. I can't eat, I can't sleep. I begged him to take me back, but he won't. How can I get him back?
Tell Vanessa, just tell Vanessa now.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this guy is not worth it. He fed you the same line that men have been giving women for years. You need to face facts. He used you, and now he's moved on. You can't go back and change what's happened. It's done. So now you need to have some self-respect, no more begging. It's the past. All you can do is focus on what I hope will be a bright future. Stop worrying about how you're going to get him back and start focusing on you and how you can move forward. But like I say each week, this is just my advice. Let's hear what they say on the street.
The blame should be on her rather than on the man.
I think he's a complete
I really don't know why women always fall for these tricks.
Do not waste any more time on a man who doesn't love you.
He can do far, far, far better than that.
Shut that door, lock it, nail it, furniture up against it. The world is out there. Get out there, enjoy it, find new hobbies, new friends, and forget about him.
Just try and move on, and eventually you'll find someone decent.
He's had your best, don't let him have the rest.
Some men do this, although I don't do it, but some men do it.
Karen, I hope you take her advice, because like I say each week, a problem shared is a problem half. So if you've got a dilemma, email us here at dilemma@tellvanessa.com. So we've come to the end of another great show. I hope you've enjoyed the show as much as we have. I'd like to thank all our guests and thank you for sending in your dilemmas. But get in touch with us and share your thoughts on the show. The information's on the bottom of the screen. Now I'm going to leave you with a fantastic artist, Marv Radio, with his brilliant single, Balance.
Tell Vanessa, this is Marv Radio, and the song's called Balance. I'm in the zone now, found a way home now. Tune in and zone now, get high and flow down. So many lessons learned through the tears of a clown. So many things I had to lose so I could be found. No love lost, no takes missed, no mistakes, no failures. Enough piss takes to take piss, but I cleaned up and made it. A place to wish make, to make wishes, to shift shape and shape shift. Shift space on spaceships to shift phase and phase shift. Tip the scales in horizontal fashion. Balance spiraling momentum like a perpetual handspin. A self-kidnapping hostage trying to pay its own ransom. A mirrored mirror cell and reflection telling it is handsome. A self-employed employer who is his sole employee. My own subject and monarch, a pauper born to royalty. A straight line cut around itself to form a coil free. To send free energy through galaxies that test his dream. A jogger with no hands who never dropped a ball. A stick-free plate spinner who's never seen a plate full. A paralyzed dwarf who lives his life standing tall. A deaf-mute receptionist who handles every call. I'm internationally local and locally global. My individual value is calculated from the total. Known as the mime artist whose only tools are vocal. A commoner, the peasantry, the ruling class, and noble. I spent my whole life just trying to find a balance. Wearing a paper crown in the cardboard palace. Drinking from a steady flow, I keep an empty chalice. Appearing to be here, but in a moment I will vanish. Spent my whole life just trying to find a balance. Wearing a paper crown in the cardboard palace. Drinking from a steady flow, I keep an empty chalice. Appearing to be here, but in a moment I will vanish. A one-sided paradox, juxtapose synonyms. The guilt-free sinner and the guilt-stricken innocence. The rock is unbeaten till the water makes it sediment. And nothing is an actual fact in spite of all the evidence. We start off as volcanoes and over time become geysers. Holes in the ground, spurt hot water and steam up. We know what we have seen, but those with no side don't believe us. You can't spell belief without a lie, so words will come between us. Who dreams a dream? Does the dreamer build a dream or vice versa? Why do we have the power to make life but also murder? And how comes every time we travel the journey grows further and heaven feels so much closer whenever devils try to burn us? If we're reaching for the heavens and the heavens reaching for us, we should be more confident and refrain from being nervous. Trust the results of our self-searches instead of trusting churches. Cause I found my divinity and I wish to share it further. I made peace with my own hell. The devil said to me, don't fail. My God wishes me well. We speak often, we're getting on swell. So whether in the driest desert or the wettest well, you can tell just where I'm going, it's where I come from as well. Every time I look for balance, balance is looking for me back. I got such a strong defense that I don't worry about attack. It appears that I am richest when I have no paper stacks. Just my music and my body, my brain and my backpack. Spent my whole life just trying to find a balance. Wearing a paper crown in the cardboard palace. Drinking from a steady flow, I keep an empty chalice. Appearing to be here, but in a moment I will vanish. Spent my whole life just trying to find a balance. Wearing a paper crown in the cardboard palace. Drinking from a steady flow, I keep an empty chalice. Appearing to be here, but in a moment I will vanish. Appearing to be here, but in the moment I will vanish.